Julio Macias from On My Block. You're on a podcast called Checkitow. Welcome. Yeah, I like it.
Check it out. I'm on your block today over here.
You're on my block over here. I definitely want to get into On My Block season 2. Really, I want to get into On My Block the end of season 1. But before we do, we were talking about social media before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
And I was going through your social media, and I'm kind of like you, like on Twitter, I'll say like something I believe in, a political message, everyone now, support, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm not really trying to bring a lot of people into my personal life on my Twitter, Instagram. And I know that as someone in entertainment, you're kind of like forced to or
have an opinion, and it's got to be strong, and you got to defend it, and you got to bite bullet. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm my dad is Republican, my mom is Democrat, right. For different reasons. And so I grew up in a household where the conversation was just nothing is left, nothing is right, everything is in the middle.
That's healthy, I think.
I think that's super healthy,
yeah.
And I completely get like the push, I understand that for the pendulum to meet an equilibrium, we have to at times force this way or force that way.
That's exactly my political journey as well. Because sometimes I feel I'm a centrist, super centrist.
Yeah, dude.
Center left, and sometimes you see the pendulum go one, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Now I'm kind of like defending people that I've usually been against, but it's because you kind of want a little middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, and so on Twitter, I mostly on Twitter, I troll my fellow cast members, and I make like little funny, sarcastic comments, and when I see something that politically strikes me, then I'll like forward it. But I tend to not give my opinion because my opinion changes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's cool.
I absolutely think that's cool. That's healthy because your opinion should change the more that you experience life and the more you learn. What about personal life? I do notice that you're also, you bring them into the set sometimes or into something. I know that you post every once in a while something, family, friends. But for the most part, we're not really riding along in like every moment of your life.
I was hesitant on social media. I came in late to the game. When it came to social media, I was one of those people where like, who cares what Slurpee you're drinking at 4 o'clock in the morning? But now it's the thing that you got to talk about, the Slurpee that you
What
had.
did you work out today? We want to know. And a few pictures, but a good description as well. Did you work out chest? Did you do legs? Did you go for a hike?
Yeah, and where is the breakdown? Why isn't there a breakdown? Julio Macias, I'm unfollowing you if you don't give me a breakdown of what your workout is like. Push-ups.
Well, but you're probably getting that more ever since On My Block. You've blown up, all right? You got a lot of people that have a crush on you, let's be honest. You probably have a few social media stalkers here and there.
Right there. Just ease up on my wife, all right? She's amazing and I love her.
You know what? I appreciate that because, back in the day, I'm a little older than you. And I remember when I started, they're like, if you're in a relationship, don't mention it because somebody might have a crush on you and they don't want to hear it. I respect the fact that you mentioned that you're married and you mentioned your wife. I think that's healthy. And I think that in the long run, people respect that.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. Her name is Shannon Schotter and she's from Anaheim. And it's interesting. I'm Julio Macias from Mexico, and
what part?
Mexico City.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time when did you get here?
I was 7 years old.
Okay.
And it's just
because I have more of an accent than you, and I was born in Miami.
Hey, I went to high school in Miami. So.
Well, that's where we talk. What high school did you go to?
Yeah, Palmetto.
Oh, that was the good public school. I went to Belen.
Mira, okay.
Yeah, which was like a Catholic school.
Yeah, my niece just got into Palmer Trinity.
Oh, that's a really good school. That's
like,
that's a private school. Yeah.
Smarter than I am or ever will be. So what's interesting is that there's this innate sense for people to diversify, but whenever you do, then somehow you're again, these are like 12, 13-year-old people who are incredibly entitled to their opinion,
right?
But they're coming at it like, how dare you be married to a white woman? I'm like,
oh, that's a big thing now.
Perdón? What?
That's a big thing now. That's like, are we going backwards a little bit on that?
Yeah, like
we're supposed to be mixing races.
Am I forced to marry a Mexican woman to prolongate? My parents are both Mexican, but you see my mom and she's tall, blonde, blue, green eyes, and my dad is like shorter, darker skinned, and
Latinos are a mix of races to begin with.
Exactly. So you see my mom and you'd think she's French, but she's she's Mexican and her parents are Mexican and back and back and back and back. Yeah, I don't think that I need to. I don't think that I needed to necessarily marry a Hispanic Mexican woman to be proud of my own heritage.
Love is colorblind. It's not like you
Exactly.
set out, okay, I'm looking for, she has to be this tall and she has to be, but, one thing, I'll give you this advice. Don't read the comments, man.
Oh,
You know
I
what I'm
don't.
saying?
She does, and she's like,
Oh,
yo.
she does.
Yeah.
Okay, then you gotta ask her, listen, I'm going to post stuff. Don't even read the comments.
Don't read the comments.
Don't even,
know what,
and
just
you
turn
actually
off
have
enough.
good comments. I mean, if that's like the only issue, like some troll is coming up with, you're actually doing amazing. Let's get into the show for a second, and then we're gonna come back into you growing up in Mexico City, Miami, LA,
sure.
all the things. On my blog, it was amazing. We had you on the Zoo, which is a talk show that we do here at LATV. I believe when the show came out, and watching the show, it's so well done. And your character, Oscar Spooky. Man, like it's funny because you in real life, like you're such a nice guy, and you seem like a good kid. Like you seem like any father would want his daughter to marry, and then you're playing like one of current TV series, Netflix series, most evil characters.
Yeah.
How was that for you? What kind of method did you have to go through to tap into that evil?
And
And he's not totally evil, let's be honest.
No,
but
he's not.
but he does have that.
I think it's interesting. I think not many people would invite Spooky into their house, but once they did, they would see respect and they would see old traditions. Like let's make the example of Spooky's dating some chick, and then she takes him to the house, and the mom and the dad are like, what? But they sit down and start talking to him, and the abuelo's like, this guy knows what's up.
Right.
I didn't grow up like that. When I moved to Los Angeles when I was 7 years old, out in Burbank, not Burbank, past Burbank, so Shadow Hills. These were just the people that were hanging out on the streets, and I don't know. I knew that when I got the role, I wanted to approach it with respect and dignity to a very marginalized and completely misrepresented community.
Misunderstood.
It's this sense of like, yeah, it's a gang. You can call it a club too.
Right.
We touch upon it on in this season, and many series talk about it. It's like, well, why didn't you go to the police? I don't know. You tell me why I didn't go to the police. Me personally, I'm a full supporter of law enforcement, absolutely. But let's be honest, like sometimes they don't respond to certain situations, and they don't respond to certain communities because of whatever the reason might be. And so these people need to protect themselves. So I never approached Spooky Oscar as the villain. I always approached him as like a misunderstood anti-hero who did the things that no one else was willing to do.
And a survivor. I mean, let's be honest. In a lot of these neighborhoods where the gang runs the show, a lot of the kids join the gang out of survival because they're gonna survive. The irony is that a lot of times, it's the reason why they might get killed later on if you get too deep in the game. But early on, it's like we're the ones that are gonna protect you when you walk around this neighborhood or decide to cross the street to the store where the other gang is. And it's a whole different reality. But what's cool is that like in life, in regular life, like I said, you see, you got this good, guy kind of, your hair is a certain way, you're a little preppier, right? Because Palmetto was like I said, the preppy.
It was preppy. I popped my collar.
And then but you look good as a thug. Like when they thugged you out and they put the little tats and they shaved the head, you're like, okay, I'm pulling this off.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
I do know. Okay, I can see.
That's all thanks to my mom. I didn't do any of that. She made me the way that I look.
How did you feel when you saw yourself, as a Spooky? When the tats are put on, when the head was shaved.
It's a lot, right now I weigh 169, 170. When I'm playing Spooky, I'm up at 190, 192. It's exhausting and it a little bit depressing, to be honest. I'll wake up and I'll want to feel preppy, I guess, and I'll look at myself and it's like, oh shit, okay, cool. It's gonna be another one of those days.
Man, but let me tell you something, dude. I mean, it's pretty much between you and Diego Tinoco as far as the female fans. And it's he still maintains a little bit of the preppiness on the show. I don't think that he could be thugged out like you can when you shave your head and put on the tattoo.
Man,
but I think that you probably have like the woman fans.
I think
And he has like the tween fans. And he's probably hating listening to this. But you got like the grown woman fans. They like spooky.
Man,
they can handle spooky.
Because you know, nobody in my family thinks that I look good that way. So they're all like,
What about your wife?
no, she hates it.
Really?
She's thankful for Spooky for the exposure and the ability for me to show my talent, but she hates him when I bring him home. She's like, no, we're not talking right now.
Wow. I would think maybe it'd be like, a little different side, it's like,
Yes.
a little edge. Ooh, hey, husband. How you doing?
She likes that I work out because I don't usually work out. I surf and I hike. It's my activities, you know. But when I'm Spooky, I'm working out. And so sometimes I'd come home. She's like, "Damn, you look good.
Look at that."
I'm like, "Gracias, mami. Don't say that. Don't say that."
Now, what did you ever get a chance to meet real life gang members? What was their response to Spooky?
So on set we have an array of incredible background actors that come in, and some of them are in the life. The second season it was younger people, but the first season I remember they brought in people like there's this guy named Scar.
I know who that is.
Yeah, exactly. He was on the show, and I ended up talking to him for a minute, and it was interesting how first they assumed that I was that.
Wow.
Without talking to me, and then they talked to me, and they're like, "Hold on, what's up?" And then they got to know me, and the really cool part is all of them are saying, you know what, you're not going out there, you're not doing a caricature, you're not trying to be like the badass motherfucker. You're doing your thing, and you're doing it respectfully and you're doing it good, and it's subtle. It's like what all of this one guy who's like, you got the essence of what it is to be the leader. The leader sits back. He doesn't need to flex. He doesn't need to puff up his chest. He just needs to lay back, cool. He takes the decisions. He lets the other, he lets his generals and he lets his, captains do the things that they got to do while he's just back here masterminding everything, So they really like that. And I had an interaction with a fan over at City Walk, and again, he just assumed that I was that. So when he came up to me, Raiders jersey and everything, like, oh, na compa, like, come up, and he was roughhousing me a little bit. I was like, and for a minute, and it took him, and he was like, oh, hey, you're really good on that. Like, he realized that I was playing and he's like, that wasn't what I was, and then it was a complete switch and change. But I do like that for the most part I've gotten positive responses, and they're all very much saying, thank you for not just making it a joke.
Right. Absolutely. You know what I hope to see in your career is that you get like a leading man role in some heartthrob romantic comedy that, breaks all the box office records, and you're like, and you're playing this guy, the one that the wife, thinks is amazing. And then we can see that, you can have an actor really go from that because, I think a lot of times actors, especially when it comes to playing gang members, think they're going to play a gang member for life. And there's some people that do, and they make a great career out of it. I'm not knocking that.
Absolutely.
But they don't get to play then the other side, the other kind of guy, you know, on the other side of the spectrum. So
I was not only blessed and incredibly happy, but just shocked at the fact that Netflix hired me, but then allowed me to go that way. Not many people in this career get the opportunity to become a character. A lot of people get cast for being them, and they're fantastic at it, and they perpetuate that career for years. But for me, for my very first show, for them to take a chance on someone who doesn't have a name and who had never played that character before, being like, he brought something into the audition. Lauren, Eddie, Jeremy, you guys, they believed it, and they're like, yeah, let's let him run with it. And honestly, the notes that I get on set are minimal, and I think that not so much because of the work that I do on set, but the pre-work, like the homework that I did to come in and being like,
well, it shows. I mean, especially if someone gets to know you, in real life, they see that you have range, and you're obviously doing the research. On the so at the end of season 1, we're gonna have a spoiler alert. We're gonna do some spoilers. All right, you should have been caught up by now, and if you haven't been caught up, just skip over this part for the next couple of minutes. Sometimes you watch a show and it's for a community, and you hope it feels good, and people want it to be feel good and want it to be like kind of like a baby. You don't want it to go off too far in another direction, but the danger is, like sometimes you gotta, we can curse every once in a while because you gotta fuck with the characters that people love. And so for it to build up and everything's kind of, I know that your character is pressuring his brother, right, into, getting in a gang life and killing somebody, but that doesn't happen. And what happens at the end of season 1 is, and we've read this in the news a lot of times over the past, 10, 15 years, a quinceañera with a bunch of innocent kids gets shot up.
Yeah.
Kind of like the On My Blogs version of the Red Wedding. Not really, but you get 2 central characters, who were among like the sweetest on the show, get shot. People didn't know that season 2 was greenlit yet when that happened.
No.
Was it greenlit at the time?
No. We found out like.
So the show could have just been left hanging that way.
Oh yeah. What
did you think when you were getting the script for the last show? What were you guys? What was the reaction with the cast?
We were all very shocked. We didn't know what was gonna happen. It's a bit of a not a controversial point, but I believe in closed loops.
Right.
I don't, if On My Block were, and it hopefully won't, if it were to stop after second season, even if it were to stop after the first season, I would have been happy and moved on to other things. I wouldn't have hated the fact that it didn't continue because it just allows me to go and do more and other things, right? But this particular ending, there was this sense of like, okay, but I really want to find out. Like the writing was so good and interesting. I remember my dad watching episode, I think 9 of the first season, and being like, Julio, like, what is that? Like, you can't. You're just bad. And I'm like, watch episode 10.
Right.
The repercussions of him not doing that one bad thing ended up getting people hurt.
Wow.
And Spooky knew that. He understood this, and he was just like, and you see it in the second season, like, zero remorse for his brother. He's just like, I told you.
Wow.
I told you. And he's just like, but I had to kill someone. Like, yeah, you did. You did, man. And it's horrible, and I wouldn't have asked it to anybody else. But you're my brother, and you're in this life. This is what you got to do, man. And he didn't do it, and then the repercussions happen.
Wow.
And you're like, everyone's just like, yeah.
Let me tell you, that's ballsy writing. I'll tell you why. Because I think that, especially if this was a broadcast show on ABC, NBC on a Wednesday night at 9, they wouldn't want to validate Spooky at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't want him to be right about anything because that would be dangerous to them. But life is complicated, and life lives in the gray area, and sometimes the villains might have a point.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Wow,
it's as bad as it might be.
As bad as it might be, I was just watching. We were watching all of the Batmans from like 1960 through
right.
The Snyder ones. And in The Dark Knight, at the end of The Dark Knight, it's talking about like, I'll be whatever this neighborhood needs me to be. I feel like sometimes Spooky is just like, yeah, put it on me. I'll be your bad guy. I'll be your villain. I'm also protecting your city.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Let's talk a little now. Let's get back a little bit to you. I was telling you before the podcast started, I'm doing the master cleanse. I'm on day 2. I'm just drinking a concoction of raw cane sugar, red pepper, alkaline water, and I think what was the other thing? Lemon juice, I think. Have you ever done this?
No.
But you said your wife's on a cleanse right now. What kind of cleanse is she doing?
She's doing juices right now.
Oh, juicing is good.
So she's juicing. She's been juicing since her birthday is tomorrow, and we're going out on Saturday down to the beach and stuff like that. So
it's a beach day cleanse.
It's a beach day cleanse.
For me, I've just been eating like crap like crazy, so I just needed to get everything out.
I am such a terrible eater. My juice cleanse is Modelo. That's
nice. I like Modelo. Modelo's really good, especially ice cold.
Ice cold Modelo.
It's gotta be ice cold.
She's like, Julio, that's not what it means. It's like, I'm only drinking liquids, babe.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I know somebody that went on a beer diet. They just drank beer because it fills you up, and then they didn't eat any solids. They lost some weight, actually.
Yeah, it was put on weight, but I did talk to a nutritionist to see how I could healthily put on weight, and they gave me all this thing, and I was like, I'm not gonna eat 8 times a day. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. So I had like 2 protein shakes, a big meal, a big dinner, and I would have 40s all the time.
Look at you.
Pero mira,
Look at you, Spooky.
Yeah, I didn't do it for the second season. I was like, it's too much beer. But the first one, and again, these are like the kind of things that they are harmful, and I would never suggest it for anyone to necessarily do it. But as an adult, you take certain decisions. I think it was called Lawless with Shia LaBeouf, and he was talking about how he was drinking moonshine on set so that he would get that swell. He was a moonshiner, and I mean, you see people when they're drunk, they got like this little, right here and everything. Right. So you can't really. I wasn't going to ask for prosthetics and that. So the only thing that I could do is just have that naturally. Yeah. So I was drinking a bunch of. I didn't do it the second season, and I think you can notice it. But the first season, I was drinking 40s so that I would look like.
Right.
Swollen, you know?
I got a feeling Spooky would drink 40s too.
Yeah, and he does.
I know he does. So you were born and raised born in Mexico City, lived there till 7. Where did you move after that?
So I was born in Mexico City and moved back and forth between here and LA, or between Mexico and LA until I was 7. Then that's when we really moved over here. It was this conversation between my mom being like, no, I'm going to raise my Mexican kids in Mexico. Right. And my dad being like, we got to get out of here, Unfortunately, we got held up. They took our car, I was like 7. My sister was 5. It was interesting because I remember the
Did you guys drove across the border?
No. We flew, but
they took you. How did they take you?
In Mexico City, our car got jacked.
Oh, that was the final straw.
Yeah, they took my dad with it because they had like the kill switch, and so they took my dad, and it was interesting because I remember the kidnappers, if you want to call them that, being incredibly nice, like opening the door for us and be like, "Man, get down." And my mom be like, "Don't touch my kids," But I remember them being like, por favor, gracias, and it was very strange. And now,
if it was totally normal, we're taking your car, but have a nice day.
Yeah, and then looking back and thinking about it, I mean, they could have been completely deranged, mean criminals, or they could have been doing their job. And I know it sounds really messed up, and my dad and my mom will never agree with me on this, but hey, we don't know their circumstances. And
so what happened with your dad when they took him?
So they took him, and we were at my aunt's house for couple hours, and it was unnerving, and me and my sister didn't really know what was
Did you call the police?
Yeah. Like they did everything, and then the car came back, and at that point my dad was just like, hey, I get it.
Your dad came back with the car?
No, they brought him back, so
but they took the car.
They took the car, and they took the car, then they came back because it turned off, and that's when they got aggressive, and they're like, hey, te vamos a llevar, let's go, And my dad flipped the switch, and then they let him go, and he came back, and he went to my mom, and he was like, hey, listen.
How brazen. Come back. I mean, in the States, they go, and the car turns off. They're not coming back. No. That's a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 1997 also.
That's a lot of just comfort level with the criminals. I can see that. Okay, so how did you end up in Miami?
So my dad has a dubbing company, and so he brought it to LA, and then he decided to be closer to the great thing about Miami is it's so close to the United States. So he decided.
Exactly. I used to tell my dad whenever I would go and north of Fort Lauderdale that I'm visiting the United States.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Papi, voy a visitar a América hoy. Wait, Yeah.
100%.
Totally.
And so he moved there 2004, 2003. So I started high school, and I did.
So you basically just did high school in Miami. That's a trip.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so as a Mexican, Mexican-American, I guess you're both, Miami's very Latino, but not a lot of Mexicans.
No Mexicans.
It's Caribbeans. I'm Cuban, yeah. So I went to a school that was, my graduating class was 90-something% Latino, 70-something% Cuban, some Colombians, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. Then one of each of the rest of the countries included. We had one Mexican in our class, just one guy, and from Mexico City, and it was actually one of the best students in the class, by the way. So when you get to Palmetto, you're like, all right, there's Spanish-speaking people here and there, but did you find other Mexican people to relate to?
No, I ended up hanging out. My best friend Ryan Hand is an Irishman. For my
and by the way, Palmetto is the one public school that has at least a healthy amount of white kids, the one.
Exactly. And it's a very nice public school in a very nice neighborhood. Right. A lot of people walk to the school. It was interesting. I feel like maybe I've in 2007, 2008, which was when I was a junior senior. social media hadn't completely taken over people's lives.
Right.
And there was still this sense of like, what are you going to do when you go out? Nobody knows.
Right.
And so there was, I felt like I lived the last bastion of the high school nostalgic dream of just going out in a truck and hanging out with your friends, and your parents don't know and nobody knows and nobody cares. Also, Miami.
Yeah.
Like, they just let you do
totally.
whatever.
I mean, I've had over the course of my adult life, I've seen so many adult friends that I made friends with them, as an adult, do a lot of things for the first time. That's like, that was me between 14 and 17.
Yeah, bro. Man,
Like,
that happens all the time. And I'm like, what was your high school experience like? And then they tell me this. I'm like, whoa, that was not my experience at all.
Yeah.
I was, I was one of those kids that never did the homework, but then would come in and ace the test. So my grades were just
show off.
but no, my grades were just like B's.
Okay.
It was, and I would skip class to go to the theater like department and work on this play.
So you knew you wanted to be an actor since high school. Okay.
But also again, it's this laid back attitude that a lot of people in Miami have.
Right.
Every single teacher that I had, like from my junior year on, was just like, go do your thing. Yeah, do your thing.
And what did you think about the Latino culture there compared to Mexico City and Los Angeles, the Caribbean culture? Was it like, whoa, okay, I can see that now there's a difference,
Yeah, so it's interesting. My mom, she comes from a line of politicians, not like high up politicians. My grandfather did work in the government. And my dad always aspired to be like my mom's family. They lived in the same neighborhood and they grew up together and all this stuff. And so they have this, I call it a European want. They want to be They want to be up here. You know, they want to differentiate themselves from the, I don't know why, the common people. But it's total bull, man. Because like I consider myself a reformed Chicano. Yeah. And my mom's like, no seas naco, and I'm like, it's not. It's their culture. It's what we do, man. And I think she and my dad are a product of their generation and their experience, and when they thought that by whiting themselves up, by Europeaning themselves up, that's how they would come up. Right. And then moving to Miami, that was all thrown out the door because everyone's like, "Hey, tú qué quieres?" Everything, everyone's dancing, everyone's smiling. It's really funny. My sister is now married to a Cuban family, and now it's like this huge thing. And I remember my mom, the first time she kind of really experienced like a Cuban family, was like,
"It's a lot."
Okay, ya, nos vemos, gracias. Yeah. And now you see her and she's like arguing with them, and I'm like, Mom, your Cuban's coming out.
It's Cubans, man. It's the hot tropical humid weather. They're also, I think the Cubans are very naturally caffeinated, and if they're not, they'll drink Cuban coffee, which is like crack. Yeah. And Mexicans are typically calmer and more polite. Than Cubans are. Yeah, exactly.
Disculpa, we have a Argentinian family friend that anytime that he would say something and we'd be like, disculpa? Yeah. It's like, why are you apologizing? Right. And I'm like, no, I didn't hear you. I know. So they say that you didn't hear me. Don't say, perdón, or sorry, I didn't hear you.
So I tell my Mexican friends this, I go, if there was as many Cubans in the U.S. as there were Mexicans, this would be the United States of Cuba. You know what I'm saying? Because like Mexicans gotta be less humble. I love the humility, but forget about it, man. Let's take over. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and you have that instilled in you. That's there wasn't for us there. I mean, there like la chancla was something that was there, right? But it was more of the look. Like when your mom or your grandma gave you the look, you're like, oh, right.
Well, that's the thing is that, you know what? Cubans have a loud bark, but that, man, when I first got here and really got to know, Mexican badasses, when I would go, especially to certain neighborhoods and do certain interviews with, street artists and stuff like that, they don't have to talk. They just look at you sideways.
Yeah, man.
And you're in trouble, and you're like, yeah, okay. Whereas, but here's the thing about Cubans. If a Cuban ain't talking much, bad news.
Back up, man.
You want them to be talking. It's like they're showing their cards. When they're not showing their cards, ooh.
You know when a Caribbean Latino is pissed off. Like like you said.
Boiling.
Yes.
Oh man, that's so. Where do you see your career going from here, man? I think that you're in a really good spot. Is there a lot of pressure now because you have gotten past this threshold and now it's about all right. you've gotten past a certain point, but where you got to get to is higher up. And what do you got to do now to springboard to that next level?
I'm not sure. I'm working on it now. It's interesting to. I'm still auditioning, multiple times a week, for everything from a co-star to a guest spot to a non-speaking role. Like I'm still out here. I'm still grinding, and I love it. What I want from my career, I want to play interesting and unique characters.
Okay.
That was my thing. So if I can somehow morph my career and be like the Mexican Andy Serkis, then I'm down. Like I want to. What I did with Spooky, I would like to do.
Andy Serkis is the guy that played in
Gollum.
Yeah, and he also played in Planet of the Apes, right?
Yep.
That's
Caesar.
that's an interesting actor to look up to.
Oh yeah, no, him, Willem Dafoe. I mean, character actors are.
Willem Dafoe's amazing.
Yeah, so that's what I want to do. Now, I'm gonna take advantage of every single, like you said. I would love to do a romantic comedy. I came up on comedies. I came up on romantic comedies.
Well, I just think that. Can I be honest with you? I like some romantic comedies. Not the biggest fan of them. I just think that you could pull. Like obviously you can pull off Spooky, but I just think that and it'd be a big payday for you.
Oh yeah, no, and that will give me the ability for other casting directors to be like, all right, he's got the equity. He'll bring people in to watch the movies.
Right.
Let's see him play. Let's see what he can do here or there or there. And that. I mean, I honestly think that my career will be at where I want it to be, 40 to 45. I think that's going to be my sweet acting spot where I'm going to do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
From there,
that's a good way to. So many actors are. Oh my God! When I turn 30, it's over. Man, that's it. But the best roles are probably in your early to mid 40s.
Yeah. Right now, I'm too old to play a teenager.
Right.
But I'm too young to play an adult. It's weird. Like
you want to be Don Draper in Mad Men.
There you go.
Have you seen Mad Men?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are your favorite TV shows or movies? Like, what's your top few?
I love I'm Dying Up Here on Showtime.
I haven't seen it, but I heard it's really good.
It's great. It's about stand-up comedy in the 70s. Yeah, 70s here.
Al Madrigal's in it.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
I feel you guys would totally get along. You guys gotta be in a project together. Have you met him yet?
No.
Dude, he would really like you.
Cool. I mean, yeah.
And you would like him.
I'd be super down. And also Barry.
Barry's good.
Get Shorty. I like these dark twisted comedies.
What about films? Of all time. It doesn't have to be current.
Of all time.
What are some of your go-tos?
Cinema Paradiso.
Nice. Look at you.
Mira.
What else?
Let's see.
You're not a Godfather 1, Godfather 2 guy?
Yeah, I like Coppola. I don't bow down to Coppola. Let's say
neither do I.
Yeah, mira. No. I just watched The Beach Bum.
Oh, okay.
McConaughey, and
that's Harmony Korine wrote that. That's the guy that wrote Kids and Spring Breakers and directed Gummo. Was it good? I haven't seen it.
It was a lot of fun.
It takes place in the Keys, right?
Yeah, Key West in Miami, and so it's as fun as it is tragic.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, because comedy is two sides of one.
Yeah.
You know what comedy is? It's the death of serious emotion. It's the radiation as you kill off the seriousness of an emotion that is either sad or tragic or angry, and then trying to play a little game, a mental game, and then laughing it off. That's what the ancient Greeks, the people that kind of invented a comedy, because original comedy was just to go along with the tragedy.
Right. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I agree with that. I it's interesting. A lot of people might have. I still love you, Eugenio, but I remember coming up and watching Eugenio Derbez and Jim Carrey do all these crazy, wacky characters, and that's what pulled me to want to be an actor. And then when I got there, I realized the subtlety of the art.
Yeah.
And that's what really kept me going. I jumped on because I did want to do this. I wanted to do this. Yeah. But when I got up there and I started doing this, I'm like, everybody can do this. Not everybody could do this.
Absolutely. And hold.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm noticing tattoos on you.
Oh, yeah. Right here.
What's that?
That's my friend Nima. He died on a bike crash out here in Thousand Oaks. If you're riding a motorcycle, please wear your helmets. Don't drink and drive. Don't. Yeah. We had this really great community of friends, and when he passed away, I think like 30 or 40 of us all got different tattoos with his name, and it's interesting because I've lost people in my life, and I've always been very good at dealing with loss. It's kind of like it's your time. You get cuando te toca, aunque te quites, no? But this one was just, I was like, man, he was the funny guy in our group. He was the light of our social circles, and why him, and why at 20? You know, it was just it was a very, very, very poignant reminder. Get your things done. You know, at the time I was very insecure about auditioning or going for it, and he was always like, Julio, come on, you're good, go do your things. I swear he passed away 2 weeks later. I signed up for film school. Like, it was just like no, ahorita.
That was the impetus for you.
I think so. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was the impetus to. I knew that's what I wanted to do it, right? But I never started because I was. It was
not
always,
be afraid of failing, because you just get the one chance.
Man, like, he was fixing up his bike, and we were gonna meet him around the corner.
Oh,
like,
God.
Mira, no era, o sea, it was 2:00 on a Wednesday or something like that.
Wow.
Like, it wasn't. It was. Yeah,
Wow.
it very much put into perspective of like, hey, I'll do it tomorrow. Do it today, man.
I mean, look, you definitely have you seem very mature, you know, for your age, and these days, guys, they don't really become adults till they're like 35, mentally and emotionally, maybe, and that's me being nice, or maybe that's just me. But you seem very mature and grounded, you know. So obviously, a situation like that, a moment in your life, probably contributed to that. But where do you think that comes from?
I think it came very much from my mom. My dad worked really, really hard when we were younger, so he wasn't always around. And not that I had to be like the little man or anything like that,
Right.
but my mother rarely yelled at us.
Mm-hmm.
She always, like, what's your problem?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk. Let's have this conversation. So everything was very grounded growing up.
Right.
You know, I rarely got in trouble. I always had conversations.
Right.
You know, and it was like, do you know why this is wrong? Do you know why this is right? And I think that kind of communication, where I was never lesser than my mom. You know, I was always a human. I was always at par with her, and I think that I took that with me, and I treat everybody. Hopefully, I think I try to treat everybody like here. And when you do that, when you speak to everyone's highest intellect, people will surprise you. You know.
Dude, I think that you should be the poster boy for healthy parenting. Listen, you do this with your kids, and he'll be on a cool show on Netflix and be successful. Before you wrap it up, what do you have anything else that you're working on that you want to tell us? I did see on IMDb you got a couple projects in post-production.
Yeah, I mean, I like to produce a lot, so I'm producing music videos and sketches right now.
Nice.
Stratastorm, Elena Hilario, and Mario Perce. Sorry, Mario. They're doing an animated series with Kayvon, and I get to play the grandfather. Entonces, I go like this here, Kim, pass me my camera. So it's amazing that if that show gets picked up and it gets sold, I'm so down for my first two characters to be like Spooky and On My Block, and then like Grandfather Julio,
dude,
on Kim and K.
Julio, you have a lot of range, and that's I like to do. Julio Macias, thank you for being on Check It Out. Awesome, man. Thank you so much, dog.
Compa.